What's up, guys? We are back with another review. We've got a new wave of Gundam Universe hitting right now. We're taking a look at it, probably the only one I'm going to get to in this wave, but it's the one I have to take a look at. If it's any of them, it has to be the Burning or the God Gundam, whatever you want to call it. This new wave is only renewal versions. So the first wave of the sort of soft relaunch of Gundam Universe had a renewal version of the Unicorn, and the renewal stuff is redoing older figures with the new articulation they're packing in, new sculpt, more accessories, and of course a slightly higher price point to go along with it. But I'm actually really excited about the direction this line is going in, because these things are getting probably as close as possible to Robot Spirit's territory without going too far into the crazy price points. So I'm pretty excited about this one. And the Burning Gundam in particular, I mean, it has to be the one I take a look at. Now, as far as packaging goes, they did change the packaging design when they sort of restarted the line a little bit. So the packaging is a little bit different. It's wider. It's got more artwork on it. So you've got the Burning Gundam there. It's pretty, obscured in that little window there, but it's in there. You've got some artwork of it on the front. You've got a product shot on one spine, the nameplate on the other, and then the back of the box showcases, kind of like all other Tamashii Nation stuff, how it moves, and then a bunch of the accessories, as well as a lot of the new stuff going along with this one, especially like the new internal frame system kind of stuff that they're advertising here. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull them out and take a look. And here we go, out of the package, our Gundam Universe, Burning Gundam, or God Gundam, depending on, what you call him. And this is, again, the renewal version, so we've got a lot, and I say a lot, of articulation changes to talk about with this figure. The Burning Gundam from the first time around was fairly decent, especially compared to a lot of the other figures. He wasn't as much of a brick in some places, but by comparison, that thing doesn't move at all. This moves so much better than pretty much anything in the line so far. So let's see what he can do, see how he moves around. So you've got a head that can look up like super far. So the neck is also cantilevered on these. It's not just a ball peg anymore. And he can look like super far down. Of course, you've got a chest like that, the cockpit basically jutting out in the front, but he can still sort of lurch over and look over his chest, which I think helps quite a bit. Tons and tons of attitude on this guy. And then of course you've got swivel. Arms go out at the shoulders. They go more than perpendicular. They of course swivel. We do have a small, it's useful, but it's not the best, butterfly joint. These things will pop off, so watch out for those. You do have a butterfly joint though. There is a bicep swivel in there. You've got double jointed elbows. And then typical for the line, I think this might be one of the few things that's the same across the board, like with all the figures and, from the original to this one, is that we still just have these ball peg hands, but they still work just fine. The torso is a big improvement, so it has a pop-up torso, and I believe this is kind of the thing going forward. So it's a peg. It goes up, but then it actually connects that way. So it pegs into the torso from the back into the front, if that makes any sense. It's kind of hard to describe. But it does actually allow for a lot of tilt, full rotation, which was kind of missing across a lot of figures previously. And then it allows for, it's still not the greatest, but a lot of Gundam things don't crunch to begin with. But this is much better than most figures previously. Legs are going to go out about yay far. You do have a lot of stuff in the way as usual. They kick forward, they kick backward. You do have a thigh twist up there, and it's much better this time around. It's much more seamless. We've got double jointed knees. They're still huge as always, but they do go back more. And then we've also got, of course, rotation at the ankle. You've still got really good rocker down here. And then we've got really solid hinges. At the base level, just for the figure itself, obviously we've got wings to talk about still. He moves infinitely better. Like, I'm very confident saying that. Infinitely better than the first figure. And then even the wings are changed. So, they still pop out. So when you want him to power up, they can still do that. But one of like a small change that helps just to get things out of the way, they can move backwards now. So they're not just stuck in this outward position all the time. They can sort of sit back just to get out of the way of the arms and everything, which is a small thing, but it does actually help when it comes to posing. So, just at face value, this thing from top to bottom, huge upgrades. If you have the first Burning Gundam Universe figure, this is essentially night and day change. Now, just as impressive as the articulation changes, the way this figure looks is is very much a huge upgrade, a night and day difference from the original. So this figure is, I mean, it's still very thematically similar. It's still the same Gundam, but this one has more detail, better proportioning, better colors, and in general just looks more, it looks more in line with, say, like real grade model kits. It's obviously not to that level, so don't quote me on that, but it's leaning towards that. And it definitely has more of the anime proportioning in here. Of course, you know, G Gundam is a different kind of Gundam. They do look different. They move differently. They have different functions in many ways. So I feel like this looks closer to the anime in many ways. But the big difference is just in comparing the new to the old. So let's move the old, or the new rather, over a little bit. And let's bring in the old figure. And this came out, I mean, he came out a while ago. I don't exactly remember what wave this was, but it has been years at this point. And I believe up until now, you know, this guy was starting to shoot up in value just because, you know, he became a little bit harder to find. But at face value, unless you're a completionist, there is no reason to get this figure. There's no reason to pay aftermarket or any of that junk. This figure is a 100% improvement. Everything that could be wrong with the old is better with the new, and I will take that to the bank. This is a much better figure in every detail. Not only does it move better, but it looks better. It has better proportioning. It has more detail all over everything, which is another great indicator that this figure is essentially a new sculpt from top to bottom. There again might be a few small little things that are the same and reused, like the hands, I suppose. But everything down to the most mundane little part has something new or has been reshaped or has been streamlined to fit into a more and better proportioned mobile suit. So the wings are different, the legs are different, the arms are different, the gauntlets are different, the shoulders are different, the waist is different, the hips are different, the head is different. It is much more streamlined in particular. It looks a little bit more menacing. I'm very happy with the head changes. The cockpit is redesigned. It sticks out a little bit further from the chest. All of it. Realistically, I don't think much, if anything, has been reused with this figure. And then even beyond that, you know, things are just changed in addition. So the golds on the new were originally yellows, which was not accurate. The blue is a better accurate color. It's a deeper blue. The reds are a little bit more vibrant. You've got, you know, different paint details. You've of course got more sculpt on all of the figure. The wing pack is different. It's larger. It sticks back further. The wings themselves are different. The way they connect is different in a much more stable way. And then my favorite change, which is, it's a small change, but it impacts the way you can use the figure. There are no beam sabers sculpted into the sheaths on the hips. So these are part of the figure. You can't take them off, and then there is no beam saber to use with this figure. This guy comes with them, and you can put beam saber hilts on his waist if you don't want him to have, you know, them in his hands, which is a small thing, but it works really well to actually, you know, make the figure playable and usable in that regard. So from top to bottom, you know, at face value, this is an insane improvement over the first figure. And kind of like I said earlier, this is getting us as close as possible, I think, to the robot spirits territory. Like, you know, the base level of robot spirits, whatever they could be. I feel like Gundam Universe is sort of getting there. Of course, we do have a bigger price point to go along with it, but we're actually getting more this time around. It's not just a price increase for the sake of a price increase. It has more articulation. It has new sculpting. It has more paint. It has more accessories, you know, the whole 9 yards. So when you get the two figures side by side, it really helps to sell the idea that, yeah, this guy is completely different. It's an upgrade. And if you do have this figure, there's no reason not to get this one unless you just don't want to spend the money, of course. But if you don't have either, this is the one you get. Hands down. Now, as far as accessories goes, this is another area of just insane upgrade because the first figure came with almost nothing, which that's not too crazy for Gundam Universe in the older waves, but the God Gundam, the Burning Gundam, was even then like a little bare bones. He didn't really come with much. And again, one of the big callouts was the fact that the beam saber hilts were sculpted onto the figure, which told you right there you were never going to use them in any meaningful way. So to start with, we get a bunch of stuff, honestly, especially for this line. He's not overwhelmingly packed with accessories, but it's more than most. You do get extra hands, so we get a set of gripping hands, so that's 2. You've got fists on him in the box. You get a set of gripping hands. You get a set of like chopping style hands, which definitely work for the Burning Gundam, for the God Gundam. I don't remember if these have been used anywhere else or not. They could be new. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that if they aren't. And then you get 2 burning finger hands. I'm not the biggest fan of the color on these. I wish they were like a translucent orange or something rather than this sort of coppery color. But they do have enough orange in them to kind of make it work. It's a nitpicky thing, I suppose, but it'd be fun to have them at least a little bit different. We do get the opening chest piece for the hyper mode sort of, transformation in the beginning of that sequence. So when the chest pops open, you can do that. And then you've got that little, the core on the inside that's exposed and visible now. We do, of course, get, like I mentioned, we do get the beam saber hilts, and they do have this weird little etching on them, this outline that you can see. So there is a very specific key on the inside of that sheath so that they sit and don't fall out. So they do sit on there really well. I actually haven't had many problems with them popping off. So as weird as that kind of looks, it does work pretty well. So you get 2 of those, of course, and these are not actually used for the beam sabers, which I also really like. So you don't have to have him holding them and see that sort of weird notch. You get 2 of these. So you get a full beam saber hilt, and these are not removable. It's just the whole shebang right here. And then you get the God Gundam's very unique style of, more katana-esque beam saber blade, which I'm really happy with. So you get these, and then it's done up in that very, very Gundam Universe style with the very heavy metallic versus any kind of translucent or anything like that. So I do really like that, and it's consistent with what we've seen so far. So, again, he doesn't come with like tons and tons of stuff, but this is pretty much everything you need for this Gundam. He doesn't have a ton of accessories because of the style of the show and kind of what he does. The only thing, at minimum, I think we could potentially say we're missing is the big halo aura effect, but again, for this line, I'm not so sure that was really ever going to be on the table anyway. But compared to that first figure, this guy comes with a mountain of stuff. There is a lot more here, and again, more value than we were seeing with that first release, for sure. So yeah, I think it's pretty clear. This figure is an absolute winner, and that makes for, well, I guess 2 Burning Gundams this year that I have been very much over the moon with. But this thing is an insane upgrade from that first figure, and I have been, and continue to be, a big proponent of this line. I really love this line for all of its faults, really. I still love a lot of what they're trying to do with Gundam Universe. And despite the price increase, because nobody wants to pay more for a figure, but despite the price increase, this is the way for this line to go, 100%. Redo the old figures, make new figures with this style of articulation like we saw in the previous wave, but give us all this new stuff. Comparing the first figure to this one, it's a huge night and day difference. This thing moves so much better, it looks more accurate, and it actually comes with a bunch of accessories. So despite the fact that we are going to pay more for this, you are actually going to get more. It does not seem like just a price increase for the sake of making more money, although that is, I'm sure, what it is. You're actually going to get something out of it. You're going to get a lot of accessories rather than, compared to the first figure, almost nothing. So that's going to do it for this look at the Gundam Universe Burning Gundam Renewal version. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.